Imagine standing in front of a crowd. It's your community, your friends, your family, and you're being raped. This was a reality for hundreds of thousands of women and children. Despite the need for medical and psychiatric attention, these women refused to come forward after the attacks. Unfortunately, underdeveloped nations such as Rwanda and Bosnia have a cultural stigma against anyone who has been sexually violated. If a woman were to reveal her tragic events to her family, she could be banished from the community or even killed by her husband. They are thought of as trash, not worth being helped. As my fellow classmates, I want you to understand there is more to the story than emotional damage that forever lingers with these women. Rape is seen as a tough issue in the court system, both in the U.S. and internationally. I'm focusing on rape as genocide. Rape is a weapon of war. It's real. It happened. This is not a hypothetical situation. Cultures were torn apart and nations demolished when their praised women were sexually mutilated. I want you to understand that rape should be considered a weapon of war when it's strategically used. For example, Rwanda and Bosnia are the locations of mass rapes that were planned. Rwanda is a significant case because the murders that took place were internationally known before any aid was given. The attack initially started on April 6, 1994, when Rwanda's president, Juvenal Habyarimana, was shot down while riding in a plane just above the capital city of Kigali. On April 7th, the Hutu men began to assassinate pre-selected Tutsi and Hutsi political leaders that were against their beliefs. At this point, the U.S. ambassador was directed to enforce that all American citizens be evacuated from the country. Day 1, death toll, estimated 8,000 people. Air relief came, but only to restricted, safe zones. Official repertoire on Rwanda estimates that there were between 250,000 and 500,000 rapes that took place during the 100 days of genocide. The reason for such discrepancy among the numbers revolves around the stigma that women are at least partially at fault. This thought is deeply embedded in their society. The previous president of Rwanda's Widow Association explained that from society's point of view, there is little sympathy, for at the moment that men and children died without defense, these women used the sex card, selling their bodies to save their lives. Since the majority of Rwanda people still conclude that rape was the female's fault, it inflicts barriers in changing the local mindset. The distinctive component of the use of rape in Rwanda automatically qualifies as the definition of genocide. The purpose of Hutu men raping women was not only to destroy a tight-knit community, but to spread a devastating disease known as human immune deficiency virus. In Rwanda, contracting HIV is a long, drawn-out death sentence that can last 7 to 15 years. The reason for such debilitation is due to the almost non-existent medical supply. Medical technology has been able to produce protease inhibitors which block the protease enzyme that HIV needs in order to spread through the human cell. However, with the lack of funds, the people of Rwanda will have a greater chance of becoming diagnosed with AIDS. The survivors of the massacre and rape will eventually die from the infection and will most likely produce offspring that will contract the disease as well, thus destroying the people and successfully performing ethnic cleansing. Another location that experienced vicious genocide was in Bosnia. The history books entitled the early 1990s genocide as the Civil War in Yugoslavia. Soldiers sexually assaulted around 10,000 to 60,000 women during the conflict. The women were mostly of Croatian and Muslim background. The Serbian soldiers deliberately implemented rape as a weapon of war. Evidence of the organized rape comes in three forms. For example, the intricate design and construction of concentration camps were used to efficiently conduct mass rape. The buildings are the only physical forms of evidence remaining. Another characteristic that shows a connection to premeditated rape is the first target. The women that were attacked belonged to upper class, and soon the trend of rapes involved the forced sexual act of incest. Although Serbian political and military officials continue to deny the organized rape, survivors report a different tale entirely. Dr. Mladen Lankar was one of the survivors that were detained in a concentration camp located in Croatia during the war. He stated in detail the reasoning behind the layout of the camp and what exactly it promoted. Lankar said that there were essentially three layers. The first layer was made of armed guards, followed by minefields. Lastly, the inner layer held and protected the soldiers that performed the rape and other types of torture. The tragic events will not be forgotten, despite the lack of physical evidence. It's real. It's happened. So, please consider my words today. Will you keep the tape on? Or will you speak out and agree? Rape can and has been used as a weapon of war.